So I think as a lot of us start, we want to help people. So I started my practice in 2009 and it's grown into a group practice. And I think I've realized over time that the more therapists we have that are very highly skilled, very highly trained, very good at what they do, the more clients and people we can help. I think what pulled me into the work was just knowing firsthand and, within my world, how hard it can be. And the struggle is real. The human condition living in society is hard. And it doesn't have to be as hard as it can be if you have support. And that's what drew me in, I think, in the first place. And also what keeps me in is just seeing how resilient, how amazing, how incredible the clients are and the therapists in their lives, that all the things they've overcome, all the things that they have been through, and they show up. They show up in their life, they show up for therapy, they're working on themselves, they're trying to stop these intergenerational patterns. And it's amazing to watch. I feel so honored to get to be a part of this therapy world because the clients are incredible human beings. We are more of a boutique practice. There's 10 providers, and we do offer a range of services. So teens, individuals, adults, couples, families. We can see a lot of different kinds of people through many different walks of life. And we do specialize in a few areas. We have trauma-informed therapists who offer EMDR. We also do a lot of attachment-based work, as well as sex therapy and intercultural couples therapy, art therapy. We offer a lot of different services. And what we really try to do is when a client calls, talk to them, get a really good feel for what they need, a really good feel for what's going on for them. Maybe they've had therapy experiences before or not, and try to match them up with one of our therapists that's going to be a really good fit for them. And if for any reason someone in our practice is not the right fit, we are well connected in our community. We're in Maryland, we're in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. So if it's not with us, we definitely want to get you wherever you need to go. And that's really important to us, not to leave people hanging or not calling back. So yep, there are 10 of us and some new client liaisons who help when the clients call. And we just do our best to help everybody who calls, even if it's not necessarily setting up an appointment. Maybe they need other resources or they're out of state and need a different provider. So as I said at the beginning, we love helping people any way we can. It's scary to think about telling someone you don't know what you would consider all your deepest, darkest secrets if you want to go there. You don't have to. But I think it's scary to think about going to someone you don't know. You don't know if they're going to judge you or be mean, right? And luckily, us therapists are human beings and we're here to help and we care. But I think there are a lot of societal pressures and cultural pressures that hold people back from coming in for that first appointment. And at the end of the day, I would say that you deserve support. You don't have to be going through the situation you're in by yourself. And it might feel really hard to call and ask for help because so many of us have learned not to ask for help. However, that's what we're here to do. So I think everybody deserves to have support. And that would be what I would say to someone who was thinking about it or considering or feeling uncomfortable about calling, is that you deserve to have support too. The most important thing to know about therapy is that you don't have to have a diagnosed mental illness. You don't have to be sick. You don't have to be at the bottom of the barrel. You don't have to be at a point where everything's falling apart to start therapy. People go to therapy just to understand what's going on for them. If they are having trouble concentrating or things don't quite feel right in their relationship, or maybe they're not sure how to interact with their kids or their parents. And all of that is okay. And all of that can be talked about in therapy and sorted through. And you don't have to necessarily have one diagnosis or one event that happened to you to process in therapy. You can process the human condition. Like, you can process being a person right now here, and that is can be difficult enough. So having a therapist to support and walk you through whatever you're going through right now, whether that's a situation at work or situations from your past or just symptoms you're struggling with. I can't sleep very well. I'm having trouble focusing. I, lose track of what's going on. All of those things can be addressed in therapy, and really work through so that you are sleeping well, feeling better, having less anxiety and depression symptoms, and kind of living your life more fully or more calmly or more in a way that feels authentic. Finding a good fit between a therapist and a client is very important. And I really encourage clients to shop around. And what I mean by that is, as you're looking on the directory and seeing different therapists pop up, if there are a couple of them where you read their profile or you read about them online or you check out their website and it speaks to you, you think, oh, yeah, this person, that seems like a good person who could help me. I would encourage it's making appointments with one or two or even three different therapists just to get a feel for what it's like to have an initial session. I will say usually the first one or two sessions are a lot about the therapist getting to know your background, getting to know what brings you in, and then session 3 and 4 start to get more into addressing what symptoms you're having. But I think even in those first couple sessions, that might feel a little bit different because we're just starting to get to know you. Most people can trust their inner wisdom to know, wow, this person's really easy to talk to, or wow, after I talk to this person, I'm feeling a little bit lighter, or after I talked to this person, maybe it was hard and I was crying during the session, but I trust them. And any of those feelings you have, I would listen to. And on the same note, if you meet with a therapist and there's something that's not quite right, best case scenario, you can ask the person about it or address it. And additionally, just listen to that inner wisdom. If it doesn't feel like the right fit, that's okay too. That's why you've scheduled one or two sessions. And it is just really important for the client to be comfortable. And us therapists, like I said, we want to help. So we will do everything we can to make it as comfortable as possible as we're just starting to get to know you so we can help. And of course, it depends on the client, their life, what's happened, where they are now, how often they're going to therapy. Someone that goes to therapy once a month is not going to see as much progress as someone who's going, once or even twice a week. And also if you're coming as a couple and if both people come to the session every time, that's different than if one person's not showing up or not all the family members are showing up. So that's my caveat for it. It depends. I will say that the first session or two, the therapist is really starting to get to know you, to understand you. We do not want to be putting band-aids on bullet holes. Like, we don't want to be giving you these quick fixes before we even understand what's happening. Now, absolutely, we will try to help if the anxiety is really high in the session or the depression level is really low. We will try to address that even in the first couple sessions. But I would say give therapy a little bit of time. Certainly within a few sessions, there often can be some relief of symptoms like like difficulty, like sleeping a little bit better or feeling a little bit calmer or feeling more peaceful, more focused, having it be a little bit easier to communicate with the partner or family member. And all of those things can happen very quickly. And also, as you continue in therapy and your personal growth journey, there will be more and more opportunities to be feeling better and better as you uncover more layers of yourself. Maybe at first the symptoms decrease that are bothering you, and then you get to know yourself better, and maybe you have different boundaries with different people, maybe you're living more authentically and more calmly, and all those things can happen over time. Some people like to come to therapy for 5 and 10 years, and some people like to come to therapy for 5 or 10 sessions. So it really depends on your goals as the client. I think one thing that's really important is, as we talked about, finding the fit between client and therapist. And I think when clients are in therapy with a therapist that they trust, it's really important to feel free to speak up if there's something going on that you don't like. Let's say a therapist, is an art therapist and a talk therapist and does somatic work also. The client comes in and maybe they're doing one or two of those things or all three, and the client really doesn't like the art therapy or really doesn't like the somatic work or really doesn't like the talk therapy. I would encourage clients to communicate that to the therapist they're seeing, because so often we don't say what's wrong and don't allow an opportunity to repair and kind of course correct. But that can kind of be the difference between sticking with your path of healing and growing or pausing on it at that time. I'm a therapist. I have been for quite a while, and we know this job can be very demanding emotionally, psychologically, and it can be draining. There's a lot that you're holding and containing for your clients, and then you have your regular life as well outside of your work. So at least for my therapist here and for therapists in general, I would say the best thing you can do is check in with yourself so you know what boundaries you need to have. Some therapists happily see 30 clients in a week. Some therapists max out at 15. You have to know what works for you and what doesn't work for you in order to even know what changes to make to not be burnt out. So at least with my therapist, I always ask how many clients would you like to see? What feels like the right number for you? And let's kind of plan around that, not let's have you see as many clients as humanly possible and then no one has any energy at the end of the month. Such a great question. And there were lots of things I wish I had learned before starting group that I learned along the way. And actually, I offer practice development coaching for therapists for this exact reason, because I feel like you don't need to reinvent the wheel. There are things you can do to grow a group practice that are not necessarily complicated, but I think it's complicated to know what to do. Once you have a plan for how you want to grow your practice, I think it's more simple to put the steps into play if you've worked with someone or really sussed it out on the front end. Winging it, I've seen, hasn't always gone well for group practices. So I think my overarching advice would be to get, same as I would recommend for clients, to get support around growing your business. Because unless you went to business school and school to be a therapist, we aren't supposed to know what it's like to grow a business. So I don't know why we would expect that of ourselves without getting support around that. Maybe that means you're in a consultation group with other, group owners who are starting, or some people more experienced, or you get consultation, or you are, listening to the hundreds of podcasts out there about growing practices, and really trying to figure out what's going to be unique about your practice and what you're going to focus on. So you're not just trying to do everything for everybody and watering down what you're really good at. I think letting go of doing everything I thought I was supposed to do. Oh, well, if you're going to see clients, you have to do this. Or if you're going to grow a group practice, you have to do this. This is just the best thing to do. You got to be on Facebook and that. I would say there's lots of ideas of things to do, and there's lots of ways to approach work with clients. But I think it's most important to kind of tune in with yourself and what modalities fit for you and for your clients. And for me, being a trauma-informed therapist is really important. And understanding clients in that way helps me to connect with them. And I don't need to use every technique from every modality. I can pick and choose the ones that really fit for the client that's sitting in front of me. General advice to newer clinicians would be get lots of supervision and consultation, even beyond what is required for your license or your liability. Like, the more you can grow and learn about how you're working, the better. And don't be afraid to really go to more advanced trainings. A training that's a couple hours is a great introduction, and if you go to a bunch of those and figure out what interests you, then go to a more in-depth training on that topic, so you can have a wide range of um, techniques you can apply to your clients without it being where you can't choose the right one, or maybe you don't have the right one. The more training and consultation you can get, the better. And in terms of AI, that's probably a question that I could talk about for an hour, but certainly to use caution and advocate that caution to your clients as well. It can be a quick fix, and it can also be dangerous.